I'm sure you guys all saw the video that I posted just a couple of days ago talking about what appears to be a prototype of a Google Pixel Fold 2, which had leaked via Android Authority. And the biggest thing that stood out to me, other than the very strange camera bump, which I'm hoping is a prototype thing, and I'm hoping that either it looks much better under when it's not covered up by that cover that's on these prototypes, or that's just not what it's going to look like at all because it's still very early on in development. The biggest thing that stood out to me other than that was the very radical change in aspect ratio. It appears to me from looking at this image that we are indeed going from a landscape tablet device, a device that is wider than it is tall, and we are shifting to a much more square device, which appears to be ever so slightly taller than it is wide. Of course, there are tons of ramifications for doing this, right? So most Android apps are not built for landscape orientation. When you open them up, you primarily just get a normal looking Android app that is stretched out, and that user experience might not be great. Google, of course, updated the majority of their own first party apps to take better advantage of a wider aspect ratio like you get on a traditional tablet, but they have not been all that successful at strong arming other developers into doing the same. You could argue that when they gave us the ability to force all apps to just be resizable, even if the app developer never intended on that happening, that they lost any leverage that they would have had at actually making developers update their apps and make them work better on landscape tablet type devices. But that is neither here nor there. We have already crossed and burned that bridge. Of course, another big ramification of this change is that we're going from a cover display that is short and a little bit, basically the normal width of like a flagship phone, but shorter. That top, half an inch or three-quarters of an inch that only people with enormous hands can reach with one hand is just removed. And for me, that is like literally my favorite part of the Pixel Fold. I love the fact that rather than having a giant smartphone that opens up into an even more giant smartphone, because yes, it's a tablet, but it's vertical, so nothing really changes. You're just getting the same app, but bigger. What we get here is a mini smartphone, a compact smartphone that I can reach most of the screen very easily, that opens up into a true tablet, something that is an entirely different experience, where some apps give you a different layout, and where, for my money, in my experience, my opinion, split screen multitasking is absolutely at its peak, because you get two apps side by side that get the normal size of the normal width of a phone. So the app doesn't get super skinny. I think it's fantastic. It's, for me, better than the Z Fold. And yes, I know the Z Fold can do things that this can't, right? Floating windows, definitely top of my list. But the width of these two apps means it's just a better experience for me. You're absolutely fair, and it's okay for you to disagree with me. Those are just my feelings. But I wanted to know more of your feelings, and specifically the feelings of Pixel Fold users. So what did I do? Well, I did the most logical thing I could think of. I went to my community page and I did a poll. Are you in favor of the rumored change in aspect ratio for the Pixel Fold 2? And 305 votes in. You guys could not be more clear. It is a resounding no. We prefer the current Pixel Fold. We prefer the shorter, wider screen. We prefer the landscape aspect ratio. In fact, it is a big reason why we bought the device, and abandoning that does not make sense to us. Let's read some of these comments really quickly, because some of them I think are absolutely on point. Google changing the one thing that was unanimously loved by their customer base is possibly the googliest thing Google could Google. I absolutely agree. Even people that didn't necessarily love the phone praised the size, the shape, the form factor. People like Marques Brownlee, one of the biggest, not one of, the biggest tech YouTuber on planet Earth, praised the form factor, loved the fact that it had this cover display that was really, really comfortable. Why would you leave that behind? It just seems so strange to me. We already have the OnePlus open. This prototype looks like it's going to be very, very similar to the OnePlus Open. I don't get it. The device already exists. It's cool when we have different types of things, right? The Z Fold is skinny and tall. The OnePlus Open is like a normal flagship. The Pixel Fold is shorter and it's landscape. Different is good in this instance, at least to me. Here's someone that thinks they could actually stand for it to be a little bit even wider than it is, and I kind of actually agree, but it's probably for the same reason. We're both Surface Duo users, so getting closer and closer to Duo is probably going to make both of us happy. Here's another person, which not shocking from my channel. They came from Duo. This was the closest thing to Duo, and so that is why they chose it, and they liked it, and they like it the way that it is. Andrew here has probably the best point about this that you could have. Logically, phone apps work better when the cover display is shaped more like a normal phone. And this is absolutely true, and it's even truer when you switch to the tablet display. This is just not the shape of a phone screen, and a lot of apps just don't really know what to do with that space. So they're basically sacrificing the advantages of being landscape, which I've mentioned some of them, better side-by-side multitasking, better media consumption, and I'm sure there's a ton more, for easier compatibility with the apps that already exist, at the expense potentially of dual panel applications. We all know that Google's apps decided they should show the dual panel layout based on if the device it's on is wider than it is tall, not based on the screen space, the size of the screen, like other OEMs, other app developers do things. And hopefully, if Google does make the switch, they're going to have to change that behavior. Gmail is going to have to show dual panel even on a device that's taller than it is wide. The form factor is debatably the only leg up Pixel Fold has on other foldables. The square aspect ratios are not ideal for anything. Why square? For Excel spreadsheets, we need media and app-friendly form factors. Another reasonable comment, though, while I voted yes, and I do prefer the Passport aspect ratio, OnePlus Open designers were more in tune with the realities and practicalities of app developers by adopting what is basically two standard screen size side by side. Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely true. Like, I get why Google would do this to some degree, but I also don't necessarily agree with it because I just don't think that I don't think it's worth it. I don't think that the things you're going to gain by going this way are worth giving up the things that your consumers, the people that already bought this device, love. Luckily, our Pixel Folds are not going to suddenly get taller. They're going to stay exactly the same. But if you expected people that loved this to jump to the next one, I don't think you're going about it the right way. Clearly, they're trying to capture a larger segment. They must think that the people that loved this is a small group, and the people that love my OnePlus Open is not nearby. Imagine it's in my hand. The people that love that aspect ratio are a larger group, and they're going to risk leaving a bunch of us behind to go get those people. And I've been one of the people in the small groups of people that OEMs leave behind that go for the big groups of people a bunch of times in my life, and it sucks every time it happens. So guys, the interesting times are definitely ahead of us. We are going to be seeing more and more leaks about this device, and I'm hopeful, as many of you probably are, that this was an early prototype and that things will change as we move from the EVT phase to later testing and then, of course, eventually mass production. You're going to want to be subscribed to this channel because I'm going to be tapped in like I always am, and when news breaks, I'm going to bring it to you as quickly as humanly possible. I will see you in those next videos. Drop some comments down below. How do you feel about this? Let's expand or expound upon this in those comments down below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.